Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'll also put the link down below in the description. I'm back with sort of a bonus replay of a pretty interesting match. The opponent is named Skilled at Luck. We'll see if that holds true. I unfortunately have to mulligan. I never keep these one-landers without AEther Vial, and this is workable. So I put the Waterlogged Grove on the bottom. Mutavault is a creature. We've got 2 Spreading Seas to help draw us more lands. And if we're playing against something like Burn, we don't want our only blue source to be Waterlogged Grove. Okay, Polluted Delta into Watery Grave, so Grixis Death Shadow maybe. But Citrus Supplier. So this is the first time I got to see this new version of the Newgaak deck. So we see Hedron Crab is the main reason for the blue splash. Hedron Crab, pretty awesome in this deck actually, because every time they play a land, it mills 3, so it's like a hyper version of Citrus Supplier, because every fetch land they get to get 6 cards in their graveyard. So pretty neat addition with Hedron Crab. Whoever's been brewing up this new version is pretty clever, I think. So Citrus Supplier gets that graveyard filled right away. Force of Negation, potentially pretty useful. Let's go ahead and run out the island and AEther Vial, see what the opponent's got for us. So, Hedron Crab, number 2, I guess. Verdant Catacombs, gonna put 3 cards into the graveyard. And hey, Vengevine and Newgaak, why not? Verdant Catacombs gets cracked, new land will come in, which means, of course, that 3 more cards are going to go into the graveyard. One slightly awkward thing is that Hedron Crab cannot tap to pay for Newgaak's Convoke cost, since it's not black or green. Death Shadow and Prized Amalgam. So what does the opponent have in hand here? So they have a Carrion Feeder. That being the second creature spell that they've cast this turn. On turn 2, they get Vengevine back, which triggers Prized Amalgam. Carrion Feeder is a black card, so it does allow them to convoke for Newgaak. And that's what they chose to do. That also triggers Prized Amalgam. So Newgaak and Vengevine, both ways to trigger Prized Amalgam in this new build. Alright, opponent gets to get in for 4 here, and I don't have very much I can do against it. Note that the opponent did not cast any non-creature spells whatsoever, just Citrus Supplier, Hedron Crab, Carrion Feeder into all of this madness. Opponent's going to get back the Prized Amalgam, and if we do a quick count of their power after turn 2, we see 1, 2, 6, 14, 17 power on turn 2. So Wizards clearly doing a great job with their recent banning decision, keeping this graveyard deck, at an appropriate power level for Modern. 17 power on turn 2 is like nothing, I guess, when you compare it to, like, I guess Neobrand, which can just win on turn 2. 17 power is below 20, right? So they need to, like, attack twice. Pretty weak stuff. So we were unfortunately able to get there in game 1. Let's see how game 2 went. Okay, back for game 2 against Neo Newgaak. I guess I shouldn't say Neo, since that sounds like Neoform. New Newgaak. So we are going to look at the sideboard here. Took out Benthic Biomancers, took out 2 Spreading Seas. Probably should take out more Spreading Seas, honestly, moving forward. This is a new build of Merfolk that I'm working with. It's also a new build of Newgaak. And I guess I was just still getting used to things, but should definitely take out all 4 Spreading Seas, since they need to get those Watery Graves down for their Hedron Crabs. So 6 cards out. Looks like at this point I still had the 4 Deprives in the previous league that I showed you guys. I only had 3. So 6 cards out means I brought in, yes, my sideboard has been changing a bunch recently. 4 relics, something like 4 relics, and some Phyrexian Revokers. Not quite sure what I had in the sideboard at this point. I am going to play first. I had to mulligan. This is keepable. We are going to pitch the Spreading Seas, since again they're not super duper necessary. And the opponent's doing some mulliganing, down to 4. So let's see if we can get there against a mull to 4 out of Newgaak. Newgaak City. So the opponent plays Watery Grave, Stitcher Supplier, hitting Hogak and Prize Amalgam. It's like, I don't think they have any bad hits. It's like not possible. AEther Vial takes up. Island is okay, I guess. And let's get these lords on the table. I mean, it's a nice clock if we can get them on the board. Opponent has their second land on the Malta 4, but it doesn't look like they have much more. We have a little bit of time. Force of Negation, pretty solid. It's actually going to make me not cast this Reejerey this turn. Vial in the Lord, that means that the Stitcher Supplier is not going to be able to block unless the opponent Fatal pushes. It's a strange choice because they probably should push this guy and then block with Stitcher Supplier, which is the whole idea with Stitcher Supplier, to get cards in the graveyard. Instead, they Fatal push the attacker, and this game is all about my clock here, so I'm just going to counter that. Opponent goes down to 15, and if they whiff for one more turn, all they really need to do is like one more Stitcher Supplier, and I think that they've got Hogak online. I think they're saving this Polluted Delta for potentially drawing a Hedron Crab. Gravecrawler, and now they have 2 fetches, which means if they crack both of those and play any spell that goes to the graveyard, they're going to be able to cast Hogak. But it looks like they don't have what they need. Maybe they just have another land in hand. Take AEther Vial up to 3. Play the Silvergill, reveal the Reejerey, draw another Silvergill, go to combat, no blocks. Opponent taking 6. No reason to Vial in the Reejerey yet. Stitcher Supplier, fill up that graveyard, and yeah, the opponent can't really block since I've got Island Walk online. You could see the potential for them to go nuts even on this mulligan to 4. As I mentioned, all they really needed was one spell to fill up the graveyard. If they had that last turn, then they would have had Hogak on board. Potentially still not very impactful since I've got the double lords on the board. So able to get there against the Newgaak deck in game 2. Let's go to the final third game. Okay, back for game 3. Opponent's going to be on the play, which is pretty frightening. This is quite a nice hand. Got one of those Tidebinder Mages that is in my main deck these days. Hedron Crab. Seems like it should be kind of a nothing start, but it's actually really powerful if they have a fetch land. Drew another Lord. It's got plenty of Lords this game. Opponent does have the fetch. I think this deck plays like 12 fetch lands. Stitcher Supplier, filling up that graveyard. Vengevine, they get to crack their Verdant Catacombs. Blood Crypt. Trigger the Hedron Crab. Play a second creature. It's a Gravecrawler, and Vengevine's coming down. I think the opponent made a mistake here and just passed through combat. Let's see if we die with, or rather win with, 4 life left. Then the opponent would feel pretty bad about not attacking with Vengevine there. Take AEther Vial up, and I just want to build up Lords, because if I get down 3 Lords, there's not really a lot that this deck can do against us. Faithless Looting. I'm gonna counter that just because it's got flashback. It looks like they're getting pretty close to doing some nasty stuff. Faithless Looting could potentially throw a Hogak into the graveyard, or draw into a Hogak, I guess. Doesn't matter if it's in their hand or in the graveyard at this point. Marsh Flats, so much value off this Hedron Crab. That's going to put 6 more cards into the graveyard. It looks like they're hitting most of their lands. Okay, so pretty much a whiff there. Death Shadow as a 1/1. So they've got a lot of power here. Most of it's little 1/1s though. So now they get in with the Vengevine and a couple other little guys. They've got so much stuff in their graveyard already, and they're definitely pressuring my life total. So I think it's probably okay to block the Stitcher Supplier. Did not put anything super scary into the graveyard. And another Tidebinder Mage. So I think we just hard cast the Lord here. Now, I had to do a little bit of math. When I vial in a Tidebinder Mage, it's going to give me 10 power on board, which means we want to get them down below 10. So swinging with the Lord, I'm going to be able to Tidebind their Vengevine. As things stand, unless they... Well, so it's tricky because hitting in with the Lord is going to make the Death Shadow into a 4/4, which then becomes 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I still have some blocks. I still have Tidebinder for Vengevine. I felt pretty safe attacking here, especially the opponent only has one card in hand, and if they go for Faithless Looting, there's not really a lot they can do. Newgaak, when I've got lethal on the board on the next turn, is not the most frightening. So they do in fact go for Faithless Looting here. 2 Bloodghasts. Yeah, I'm not below 10, so Bloodghast doesn't have haste. So many triggers. There's a Newgaak. 2 Bloodghasts back. Can use those 2 Summoning Sick Dudes to cast Newgaak. Exile a bunch of lands. And on turn 4, this 8/8 Trampler is not that scary. Beginning of combat, I'm going to tap down this Vengevine, establish 10 power on the board, as I mentioned. We wanted to get them below 10. Opponent passes, and yeah, they're pretty much dead on board, and they realize that and scooped. So a pretty insane game 1 for them with 17 power on turn 2. So totally unable to defend against that kind of an opening. But in games 2 and 3, we just got Lords down. Tidebinder did a pretty nice job against Vengevine. We could have also tapped down their Newgaak with the other Tidebinder. Just one of many matchups where Tidebinder seems to be pretty powerful in the main deck right now. Have you guys been running into this new build of Newgaak? If so, leave your comments down below. Let me know how you feel like the matchup is compared to maybe the old Newgaak deck. I mean, I was pretty frightened. This was the first match where I saw them, and when I saw they had 17 power on turn 2, I had no way to know if that was like the normal opening for them or if it was just like the nut hand. And seems like it was pretty much the nut hand. Though it is turn 4 here, and they've got, if we do a quick count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They got 9 creatures and 6, 7, 8, 9, 13, 17, 25 power on turn 4 across 9 bodies. Still pretty good, even though, you know, it's a pretty clunky game for them. So yeah, leave your thoughts on this new deck down below. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already, and please take a moment and check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support all these videos. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video where I'll be back with some more gameplay. I'll see you guys there. Bye.